Greetings. My name is Letitia Hensley, and I'm the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Director of Family and Community Engagement. We are excited that you are joining us today and know you will gain great insight from this session. At the conclusion of today's session, please provide feedback so that we can continue to support you with amazing sessions that will be provided throughout the year. Now, without further ado, we'll turn it over to our presenters.
Welcome, 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 CMS families. We are so glad you could make our very first Lunch and Learn sponsored by the Family Engagement Academy. My name is Kendra Alston, and I am one of 12 curriculum specialists for elementary school. And I am here representing the literacy department, and my counterpart, Sonia Gregory, will be representing the math department. Together, we will share literacy and math resources that are available to you. I think you're going to be so excited about this. Our time together will focus on not just navigating the family website, but really opening up some of the resources to see how those resources can support your child for each grade level in math and literacy. Our goal here today is to really ensure that you know exactly where to find the support for your child's learning. You do have a Q&A, and at this time, you know a little bit about me. I'd like to know a little about which school you and your child are representing. So please take a moment to write in the Q&A the school and the grade or grades of your children. CMS has identified 4 major pillars of excellence that help support student achievement. In our time together today, we're going to focus on really all of the pillars. I think there's an argument that everything that we do involves academic excellence, people excellence, operational excellence, and engagement excellence. So when we talk about academic excellence, we're talking about how are we delivering a student-first environment. When we talk about people excellence, we talk about how do we build and strengthen culture and a commitment to excellence. When we talk about operational excellence, we are referring to how do we make sure that we have aligned systems and tools that achieve excellence. And then engagement. When we talk about engagement, how are we engaging our families, our students in learning? We have our pillars that clearly define excellence. And what happens when we achieve excellence in all of these areas? Well, we get closer and closer to reaching our goal of having all students master grade level content and be skilled readers and mathematicians. I am sure that we could make a case for how this Lunch and Learn session could support all of these pillars, but today our focus is on academic excellence. In our pursuit of excellence, our vision is to educate, engage, and empower families, community, and all staff. In order to support this vision, it takes all of us, the students, the teachers, and we can't do anything without you, our families. And we do this by empowering you. So when we talk about the word empowerment, empowerment is about enabling individuals to take control of their lives and make informed decisions. So for parents, this means having the tools, resources, and confidence to support their children's education and well-being. Because you are the first teachers of your children, your involvement and support can significantly influence your child's success. We know that when parents feel empowered, they are more likely to engage in their child's education and advocate for their needs. But how? Well, we know that your child's school may have a lot of parent empowerment strategies. Some of them you may not even realize, but teacher conferences, the curriculum nights, and a host of other events, I'm sure. But our goal here in the academics department was to create a platform that empowered you after the bell and beyond. We wanted to provide a go-to space for you to get resources and information for how to help support your child at home. We also wanted this to be a space that helps you know exactly what your children are learning in their classrooms. And this space is known as the family website. The family website is a resource hub created with you in mind. It was designed to help you answer the following questions and many more. How can I support my child's reading development at home? What strategies can I use to help my child with math homework? Are there specific resources available for different grade levels? How can I encourage my child to be more engaged in their learning? What activities can I do with my child to reinforce what they are learning at school? Having access to knowledge means understanding how to utilize the tools and resources available to you. By knowing where to find information, you can better support your child's education and well-being. So what I like to do is to first walk you through the site, and then we will take a closer look at some of the resources on the family website. Before we go live and look at the family website, I wanted to show you some different links that you should be familiar with. So when you first go to the CMS website, you will see families here, and you would click families. After you click families, you would go down to the learning and technology resources. Whatever grade band your child or children fall in, you would click on that. For the sake of today's session, we will just click on elementary learning resources. You click on the grade level, and then a host of resources will come up, and I will walk you through those momentarily. The very first thing you will see is somewhat like a table of contents that lets you know what is inside of each family resource guide for each grade level, and you will be happy to know they are translated in as many languages as you can name. Underneath the resource guides or the family guides, you will see resources for math and reading or literacy by quarter. So that way you can click on the quarter that we're in and you can see exactly what your child is learning. For literacy, we have sections entitled How to Teach Kids to Spell Their Name, and this is for that particular grade level. Upper and lowercase letters. Again, this is for probably the kindergarten level, but this just gives you a peek into some of the resources on the site. We also have, and you are going to love this, we have family videos. And these videos give you an overview of the entire unit for that particular quarter. And so you would go here and click right there, and you get a chance, just a peek into what the children will be learning in math and literacy for that unit slash quarter slash module. You will hear those words used interchangeably. We did have at the some of you, if you missed the back to school event sponsored by the family engagement department, you missed a treat. But what we did hand out was a postcard, and on that postcard, we gave them quick access to the family resources on the family website. So I did want to show you this particular resource, but I'm actually going to show you here today what's on the card. So although we briefly shared the steps, I would like to walk you through the process of accessing the math and literacy resources on the family website. Afterwards, we will allow time for questions about the navigation or some of the resources. So if you are in, hopefully you can see, if you are in our family on our website, you would click on families. Once you get to families, you will scroll down to learning and technology resources. Once inside of this particular page, you would click on elementary learning resources. And then you would click on the grade level. And just, I'm going to pretend that I have a second grader, even though I have an eighth grader, but I'm going to go to second grade. And here is the family resource guide. It gives you everything that's included in the guide. And then you click on your particular language. And here you are. Here is the family resource guide. So you can see it is comprehensive. It goes over the key skills for that grade level, questions to ask your child, because sometimes we just don't know what to ask, if especially in literacy, when they're reading, it's like, oh, what is the story about? We do have that. But now we're asking, like, where does the story take place? What is the author teaching you about? So this is how we're empowering you as parents. You now know the questions that we're asking in the classroom. Here's some topics to discuss with with your child's teacher. Sometimes when we go to conferences or when we're asking, I know I like to send emails like weekly just to find out how my child is doing, but sometimes I don't know the right questions to ask, other than just how's he doing. So I think it's helpful to have the topics to discuss with the teacher, because this gives you a guide on what to say. It also gives you learning activities that you can do at home. So we have all of that for literacy, and then let's look at what we have for math. Again, we have the skills, lots of skills. We have questions that should be asked. Again, topics and learning activities. Math also has the words to know. So this is the family resource guide, okay? So now when I go out of the family resource guide, now I want to know, okay, we're in quarter one. What's happening in my child's classroom in quarter one? I need to know, because every time they come home, I say, what did you learn today? They say nothing. So I want to know what it is they are learning so I can be empowered with that same information, and I'll be able to ask those questions. So as soon as you click on the quarter, you will see a video. And this video is going to give you an overview of everything they're learning in that module. So let's take a moment. We're going to actually watch the video. Just know that even if you don't have a second grader, We have these same videos for all grade levels, but I do want you to just listen to this so you can see the information that's included in the video. I will show you one for math and one for reading. This is the one for reading. Let's give it some time. Here we are. It's coming. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, here we go.
What is school and why are schools important? Why is it hard for some kids to go to school and what can communities do about it? How are schools around the world similar and different?
Second graders are naturally observant with a strong sense of what is fair. Their curiosity about big topics and their desire to know why things are the way they are sets the stage for powerful learning as they dive deep into a topic they know well. School. In this module, they'll study schools around the world as they build skills that support positive social interactions and prepare them for success in their years of school ahead. This might look a little different than when you were in school. In the EL education curriculum, students dive deeply into a topic. They use this knowledge to develop literacy skills like reading, writing, speaking, and listening in a meaningful way. In Module 1, second graders listen to and closely study a variety of books about schools. Research schools around the world by examining texts, photos, and videos. Use what they have learned to write about how communities overcome challenges that schools face. Participate in a variety of discussions and sing songs about their learning. Module 1 includes 3 units that build from one to the next, each about 2 weeks long. They are Unit 1, Building Our Background Knowledge, Schools and Their Importance. Unit 2, Reading and Writing Informational Texts, Challenges in Going to School. Unit 3, Performance Task, the most important thing about schools. In Module 1, Unit 1, students learn about the importance of schools, different types of learning, and similarities and differences in schools across the world. They answer the question, what are schools and why are they so important? Their learning is focused on what makes something a school, the importance of schools in communities, reading and listening to stories about different types of schools, and researching the similarities and differences between schools around the world. In Module 1, Unit 2, students continue to study schools, why they are important, and challenges some students may face. They answer the question, why is it hard for some children to go to school in their community? Their learning is focused on reading and researching about schools around the world, understanding why weather and location can make it difficult for some children to go to school, identifying how communities solve problems so that students have a place they can learn, and using their research to write and draw about what they've learned. In Module 1, Unit 3, students use what they know about schools, the problems they face, and how people work together to solve those problems. They answer the questions. How are schools around the world different? How are they similar? Their learning is focused on reading closely to compare and contrast their school with schools around the world, choosing a school they'd like to research more, and writing, revising, and editing their own book about the importance of schools. You can help your student at home by practicing literacy skills in the same ways they are learning at school, like talking about your own experiences with school and learning as you were growing up, talking to friends, family, and neighbors about why school is important to them, and writing and drawing about the importance of school and learning, and singing songs that they've learned in school. You are an important part of your students' learning at school and at home. We hope this peek into their learning will start conversations between you, your student, and their teacher as you get ready to learn and play with your student at home.
Hopefully, how did you like that? Hopefully you saw, and I'm sure you do, the benefits of having this at your fingertips, where you can take a peek into the quarter just to see what your child will be learning, and how those conversations at home can start to align with what's happening at school. And so you have your family video that we just watched for literacy, and then you also have other strategies and activities that you can try at home to help support what's happening in the module lesson. And we have that for each quarter. Okay. Then as we move on to math, we have math here, and we have quarter one here. And as you can see, as soon as you click on the quarter, you will see the math video. So I'm going to show you what the math video looks like.
Hello, and welcome to the Quarter 1 Family Video for 2nd grade math. I'm Caitlin Eubanks, Elementary Math Curriculum Specialist. By the end of this video, I hope you will know the answers to these 3 big questions. What is my child learning in Quarter 1? How does it look? And what can I do to help at home? In 2nd grade, Quarter 1 includes the first 3 units. Unit 1, adding and subtracting and working with data. Unit 2, adding and subtracting within 100. And students will begin working on Unit 3, but that will be continued in Quarter 2. In Unit 1, students build on what they learned about addition and subtraction in 1st grade. They work on developing fluency with addition and subtraction facts within 20. They learn how to interpret and represent data on picture graphs and bar graphs, and they use these graphs to solve story problems involving addition and subtraction within 100. They also learn about a brand new representation called the tape diagram. This helps them to apply their understanding of the relationship between addition and subtraction to solve problems. Let's take a peek at what this looks like. In the first section of Unit 1, students use what they know about the relationship between addition and subtraction to find the missing values in the equations. These are the same strategies that they learned in 1st grade, such as making a 10, counting on, and counting back, to add within 50 and subtract within 20. For example, making a 10 when solving 8 plus 7 might look like the students breaking apart the number 7 into 2 and 5. Then students might make a 10 by adding 8 plus 2. Last, students will add the 5 to 10 to make 15. Students will later use these same strategies to add and subtract within 100. In the next section, students are asked to make sense of 2 data representations, a picture graph and a bar graph. Students learn to represent and interpret data on these graphs and ask and answer questions based on the data. In the last section of Unit 1, students put together what they learned about addition and subtraction and graphs to solve story problems involving addition and subtraction within 100. The tape diagram is introduced in this section, and it supports students with making sense of story problems and understanding the relationship between addition and subtraction. As an example, the word problem shown can be represented in this tape diagram. Noah spent 25 minutes swimming. Jada spent 30 more minutes swimming than Noah. How many minutes did Jada spend swimming? Here we can see Noah's time is represented, and Jada's time is represented by Noah's time and 30 more minutes. Something you can try at home is to show students picture graphs or bar graphs and have them write as many statements as they can about those graphs. For example, students might come up with these statements when looking at this graph. More people like dogs than cats. The least amount of people like lizards. 2 more people like fish than lizards. This is also a great opportunity to have your students make their own graphs at home. You can have them come up with questions to ask their family or friends about and make their own graph to represent that data. Students can also practice problems like this. Let's look at some strategies students might use when solving this problem at home. When solving a problem like this at home, students might use a tape diagram to help them interpret this word problem. This is what that might look like. Andre read 45 pages of his book last night. Priya read 20 fewer pages of her book than Andre. How many pages did Priya read? Explain or show your reasoning. Students might start by representing what they know about Andre. Andre read 45 pages last night. They know that Priya read fewer pages than Andre, so her amount is going to be fewer or less. It says that Priya read 20 fewer pages, so it's 20 less or 20 fewer pages than Andre. Now I need to figure out how many pages did Priya read. So students are left with the equation 45 minus the 20 fewer pages equals the amount that Priya read. Students will use strategies that they've learned in first grade already to solve problems like this. One of those strategies is using a hundreds chart. This might look like starting at the number 45, and then students count up by groups of 10. So I'm gonna subtract 20. 10, 20. 45 minus 20 equals 25. Another way that students might solve that they're familiar with is by drawing tens frames. Tens frames are a group of 10 in a frame. So here I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. And I know that I need to subtract 20. So I will take away one group of 10 and a second group of 10. That leaves me with 10, 25, 25. Students may also think of this as tens and ones. They might represent the 45 with 4 10 sticks, 10, 20, 30, 40, and the ones with 5 ones dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They know that they're subtracting 20 or 2 groups of 10. 10, 20. And again, they're left with 2 tens and 5 ones. So I know that Priya read 25 pages last night. Thank you, families, for joining us for our first second grade mathematics family video. Thank you for partnering with us at home. We are confident that with your encouragement and support, our young mathematicians will gain a wealth of knowledge and develop a strong foundation in mathematics during this first quarter. Hello, and welcome.
So now you see why it's called Lunch and Learn. Hopefully you're enjoying lunch, but I know for a fact that you're learning. So if we move past the math video, you will see all of the skills outlined, and we even embedded more videos to help you understand what those skills actually look like. So you'll see those linked here. And the family video we just put throughout here. And then once we are finished with quarter one, you could actually move on to quarter two to get a head start to see what your child will be learning. So that is grade 2. That is what grade 2 looks like. Now, we also wanted to show you, because grade K through 2 is considered our lower grades. I also wanted you to take a peek to see what's happening in the upper grades. So if you don't have a 4th grader, because that is the grade level I will model, it's okay. We do have these again for all of the other grades as well. So let's go to 4th grade. We're going to go to the 4th grade resources. And what you will notice is the platform looks, and each page looks the exact same. So that will help you as you're navigating. You're not trying to figure out where everything is. You will know after going, because the pages look similar. So we're going to go here to English. We are in 4th grade, so it gives us a peek into what's happening in fourth grade with our skills, questions to ask, topics to discuss with the teacher, learning activities, the words to know, and helpful resources. This breaks it down, and we have the same for math. See all of the skills for math, the questions to ask. I really need help with these questions. I needed this guide when my son was in fourth grade, but I definitely need it now as well as he's in eighth. You have your learning activities, your words to know, and then again, your helpful resources to practice skills at home link. So once you've gone through the guide, then it's time to come out of the guide, and we're going to just follow the same pattern. Oh, it's quarter one. My fourth graders in quarter one. Let me see what's happening in the module. In literacy, we call them the modules, and each module contains 3 units. So let's see what's happening in fourth grade.
What makes a poem a poem? What inspires people to write poetry?
With their curious nature and a growing love for language and wordplay, fourth grade is a perfect time to play with poetry. The start of the school year is designed to help students embrace a love of reading and writing, while developing important social and academic skills to prepare them for success in the years of school ahead. This might look a little different than when you were in school. In the EL education curriculum, students dive deeply into a topic. They use this knowledge to develop literacy skills like reading, writing, speaking, and listening in a meaningful way. In Module 1, fourth graders read books and poems closely and carefully, identify characteristics of poetry, summarize poems that they read, examine the lives, work, and inspiration of famous poets, and write their own poems to entertain others. Module 1 includes 3 units, each about 2 weeks long, that build from one to the next. They are Unit 1, Reading and Analyzing Poetry, Love That Dog, and Famous Poems. Unit 2, Writing to Inform, What inspires writers to write poetry? Unit 3, Writing to Entertain. In Module 1, Unit 1, students learn what poetry is and read a variety of poems. They answer the questions, what makes a poem and what inspires writers to write poetry? Learning is focused on reading about famous poems and poets, identifying what makes a poem, analyzing poems to understand themes, and comparing poems with prose or short stories. In Module 1, Unit 2, students continue to think about the inspiration for poems they read. They explore the questions, what makes a poem, and what inspires writers to write poetry? Their learning is focused on reading and identifying the inspiration for famous poems, collecting evidence to support their thinking, and writing informative essays about famous poets. In Module 1, Unit 3, students think about what inspires them to write poetry, and they write and share their own original poems. They answer the questions, what makes a poem, and what inspires writers to write poetry? Their learning is focused on writing a poem about something that's important to them, revising for word and phrase choice, creative use of punctuation, analyzing their own poem, and preparing to read their original poem aloud. There's a lot you can do to support your student at home. You can read poems aloud together and talk about their meaning. Find your favorite poems and talk about what you like about them, And make lists or draw pictures of things that inspire and excite students to help them write their own poetry. Talk with them about habits of character like initiative, responsibility, and perseverance, and identify examples of these traits in people you know. You are an important part of your students' learning at school and at home. We hope this peek into their learning will start conversations between you, your student, and their teacher as you get ready to learn and explore with your student at home.
So, poetry. The fourth graders are tackling poetry, the abstract world of poetry. And the interesting thing about unit module 1 is that throughout this module, they are also looking at the lives of different poets, and they're connecting the works of the poet with their life and finding the inspiration, where that through line is. So they're learning how to do that themselves. So they're exploring things in their lives and creating poems and making that connection as well. So hopefully you see how this is just such a valuable tool to be able to get ahead of what your children are learning. And then when we go down to math for fourth grade, we follow the same pattern. And now let's look at some of the upper grade math.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Quarter 1 Family video for 4th grade math. I'm your host, Stephanie Conlon, an elementary content specialist with the Learning and Teaching Department here in CMS, and I want to welcome you to our session today. By the end of our video, I'm hoping that you'll have some answers to these 3 big questions. What is your child learning in Quarter 1? What does it look like? And what can you do at home to help? So I'm going to be going through 3 different units where we'll learn about each of these ideas, and we're going to start by looking at a broad overview of the first quarter. So in Quarter 1, we start with factors and multiples. A lot of language and vocabulary are introduced in this unit. And then we move into Unit 2 with fraction equivalence and comparison. A lot of the work that 4th graders do build on the work they've done in 3rd grade and build toward the work that they'll be doing in 5th grade. And then wrapping up Quarter 1, we have Unit 3, which is extending operations to fractions, and specifically that includes addition, subtraction, and multiplication. So let's jump into Unit 1 now. What is it our students are learning in Unit 1? Like I said, this unit is all about the language of number characteristics. What makes a number even or odd? Those things that students learn about earlier in 2nd grade, those are the kinds of ideas that students apply now to more sophisticated vocabulary. Students learn about factors and multiples. They learn about the difference between prime and composite numbers. And then they're able to apply that understanding to solve problems like this blue one you see about Marla here at the bottom. So what does this look like? I'm going to take a few moments now and show you how a student might solve a few problems that help them build their understanding about factors and multiples and primes and composites to solve problems. So throughout the work of Unit 1, students learn about the meanings of factor and multiple by relating them to the concept of area. In 3rd grade, students learn that they can count the squares that it takes to cover a rectangle of a certain size, and this one has a width of 2 and a length of 7. So students could count to find out how many squares it takes to cover this rectangle. That would be area. Or they also learned that they could multiply the length times the width and find the area this way. Now we want students to relate the idea of these 2 numbers being the dimensions of the rectangle to the terms factor or factor pair. So we know 2 and 7 are factors of 14. That makes 2 and 7 a factor pair. So we can say it this way. We could also say 7 times 2, same pair of numbers either way. That also means that 14 is a multiple of 2, and it's also a multiple of 7. So 14 has 2 factor pairs, 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. Students learn after their exploration with factor pairs and multiples that we would call this number a composite number because it has more than one factor pair. An example of a number that only has one factor pair would be the number 5. So if I build the number 5, I have one way I can make 5 using a factor pair. And that factor pair is just 1 and 5. 1 times 5. I'm showing this to you now because this can be part of the work that you do at home with students. So if there's only one way to make it, and I could make my rectangle go up and down, but it's still just a 1 and 5. 1 times 5. Only one factor pair. So we call 5 a prime number. So students learn about factors and multiples and primes and composites by building rectangles, relating factor pairs to side lengths and dimensions of rectangles, and how many different ways they can make these rectangles with specific areas like 14 or 5 in order to reason about these new terms that they're going to learn. And in later sections of the unit, they apply that new knowledge to solve problems. So it's through the work that students had done previously, like I just showed you, that helps them solve problems like the Marla problem in order to think about factors, multiples, primes, and composites in ways that are useful for real life situations. So what are some things that you can do to help at home? Well, for units 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to introduce you to a task that you can try with your students. That's the bright yellow table you see here on your screen. In the purple box, we have some questions that are helpful while students work, and in the green box, there are some solutions. So for this problem, this is very similar to the work students have done and will do in Unit 1 around reasoning about if a number is a factor of a number or a multiple of a number. And the solutions below in the green box really help us think through what we want to hear students say and think about as they're finishing these sentences. So 5 is a factor of 20 because you can multiply 5 times 4 to get 20. So that means 5 is a factor of 20. And 5 is a multiple of 1. There's really not a lot of ways to make 5 using multiplication of whole numbers, and that means 5 is also a prime number. So some of these solutions down here go with the supporting questions over here. Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you would like to, or just return back to the video before you dive into doing this work with students and just make you feel like you've got some tools in your back pocket that'll help your child feel successful at home. Thank you so much for joining me, and please feel free to check out the resources using the QR code below to gain access to our family website for CMS.
So I don't know about you all, but I have learned a lot. I've learned a lot. So, some of the things that we think we remember from school, just watching the videos, it's like, you know what? Oh, they're doing it a different way now. Oh, this is the new math that everyone is talking about. So hopefully, this is empowering you. That's the goal. So as you go on after the video, it does give you more strategies, activities, again, and that's for quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. As I said before, we are in quarter 1, so you're not behind. You can actually look at quarter 1 now and find out. I know in literacy, we are in unit 2, and so we still have another unit to go. So you are ahead of the game. So I want to take a moment. I did want to allow time for questions. And here we are. And here we go. We did have the Q&A for you if you had questions that you had that were specific to our navigation, our family website, anything that you saw today that maybe you need clarity about, please feel free to ask that in the Q&A. See any yet? No questions yet? While we're still waiting for some parents, and maybe you're thinking about what questions you have, it's okay if you don't know. Um, you may want to have time to just play around and practice the navigation of the site yourself. But I hope that you feel that this site was created with you in mind, entirely with you in mind. So um, I'm still waiting for, let's see.
Kendra, we do have one question in the chat. Are these
Okay.
resources helpful if my child has a learning disability?
That is a wonderful question. And I would say yes, especially with some of the hands-on activities that we give you different avenues to reach a specific, or to different avenues to reach for strategies. So basically, to get to if I'm, for example, I'm sorry, if you saw Stephanie's video and she was using some of the manipulatives for the math, those are ways that you can use to kind of lift that. See. See someone trying to. And I would also encourage you to, in the resource guide where we say questions to ask your teacher, use that as a way. It gives you just that tool, that conversation starter with your child's teacher as well. Because sometimes, again, we don't know what to ask the child's teacher, but we do give you that some ways or some questions to ask your child's teacher on the parent guide. This is your space. Was there anything unclear, or was there anything that was not there that you would have liked to have us to include on the video? We did try to think of everything that we felt you would need. The family website can also be used if you have a tutor for your child. Sometimes I know we have parents and what can we do? They're going after school. This is something that you could also share with others. This website is public, so you can share with others who are working with your child as well. This space is just for you. We're just open for questions. And if you don't have any questions, I will give you this 10 minutes back. And I just want to thank you so much for being an advocate, being our ally. We appreciate you, but just know we can't do any of this without you. We really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.